Staff Sergeant James Cooper pressed himself against the cold metal wall of the space station, his pulse rifle ready. The dim emergency lights cast an eerie red glow through the corridor. Behind him, 5 other soldiers from the Terran Special Operations Unit waited for his signal. "Target location 30 meters ahead," whispered Martinez, his team's tech specialist, checking the scanner, reading multiple life signs. Cooper nodded. After 6 months of tracking this slave-trading ring, they had finally found their main base. A station floated in a remote sector of the Orion Arm, far from regular patrol routes. "Remember," Cooper said quietly to his team, "primary objective is freeing the captives. No casualties among the slaves." He took a deep breath. "Go loud in 3, 2, 1. The breach charge blew the door open with a thunderous bang. Cooper's team rushed in, their weapons trained on the surprised slavers. The room was large, with dozens of force field cells lining the walls. Inside each cell, aliens of different species huddled in fear. "Terran Alliance Special Forces," Cooper shouted. "Everyone on the ground. Now." Most of the slavers dropped their weapons, but one reached for the control panel. Cooper's shot hit him in the shoulder, sending him sprawling before he could activate whatever defense system he'd been reaching for. "Martinez, get those cells open," Cooper ordered, keeping his weapon trained on the subdued slavers. "Jackson, Williams, secure the prisoners. Chen and Rodriguez, watch our backs." As the force fields dropped, the freed aliens started running toward the exit. Cooper noticed they all avoided one particular cell at the far end. Curious, he approached it carefully. Inside, he saw a female alien unlike any he'd encountered before. Her skin had a subtle blue glow, and what looked like patterns of starlight shifted across her body. She was curled up in the corner, her large, silver eyes watching him with a mixture of fear and hope. "It's okay," Cooper said softly, lowering his weapon. "We're here to help. You're free now." The alien woman didn't move. Cooper noticed bruises on her arms and a crude collar around her neck. His jaw tightened with anger. "Sarge," Martinez called out, "that's a Celestian. They're super rare. These bastards must have paid a fortune for her." Cooper stepped into the cell slowly. "Can you understand me?" he asked. The Celestian nodded slightly. "Yes," she whispered in perfect English. "My name is Lyra. Please." The collar. Cooper knelt beside her and examined the device. It looked like a standard slave control collar, but more elaborate. "Martinez, get over here. We need to get this off her." While Martinez worked on the collar, Cooper kept talking to Lyra, trying to keep her calm. "You'll be safe soon. We're taking you all to a Terran Alliance base." The collar clicked and fell away. Lyra rubbed her neck, her bioluminescence brightening slightly. "Thank you," she said, her voice stronger now. To Cooper's surprise, instead of running like the others, Lyra stayed close to him as they evacuated the station. She flinched at every sound, her hand gripping the back of his combat vest. 5 minutes until extraction, Rodriguez reported. Hostiles approaching from Section 4. "Move, move," Cooper ordered, leading the group toward their ship. When plasma bolts started flying, he pushed Lyra behind some crates. "Stay down." The firefight was brief but intense. Cooper's team had trained for this, and they made quick work of the pursuing slavers. When they reached their ship, Cooper did a head count. All the freed slaves were aboard except Lyra. He called out, worried. "Here," she said from right behind him, still holding onto his vest. Unlike the other rescued aliens who huddled together in the ship's hold, she sat next to Cooper during the flight back to base. None of them knew it yet, but this raid would change both human and Celestian society forever. The debriefing room at Terran Alliance Base Omega-7 felt too small for Staff Sergeant Cooper's liking. He sat across from Colonel Richards, trying to explain the unusual situation for the third time. "Let me get this straight," Colonel Richards said, rubbing his temples. "The Celestian won't go to the refugee center." "No, sir," Cooper replied. "She refuses to leave my side." Says it's something called a life debt. Through the observation window, they could see Lyra sitting in the waiting area. Her soft blue glow had gotten stronger since the rescue, but she still jumped at sudden movements. Every few seconds, she would look anxiously toward the debriefing room. "This is irregular, Sergeant." The colonel pulled up a file on his tablet. "Celestians are a highly advanced species. We barely have any contact with them. Now we got one who won't leave a human soldier alone." Before Cooper could respond, the door chimed. Dr. Sarah Chen, the base's xenobiologist, walked in with an excited smile. "Colonel, you need to see this," she said, displaying her own tablet. "I've been researching Celestian culture. The life debt isn't just some simple thank you. It's a fundamental part of their biology. When a Celestian's life is saved, they form a deep psychological bond with their savior." Cooper frowned. "But I was just doing my job." "Intent doesn't matter," Dr. Chen explained. "The bond is already formed. Forcing her away could cause severe psychological trauma." The colonel leaned back in his chair. "So what exactly are you suggesting, Doctor?" "We could use this situation to our advantage," Dr. Chen said. "Celestians are natural diplomats. Their empathic abilities make them excellent at reading other species, and this one already speaks perfect English." Cooper watched Lyra through the window. She was examining a potted plant, her fingertips glowing slightly as she touched the leaves. Despite everything she'd been through, there was still curiosity in her silver eyes. "Fine," Colonel Richards finally said. "Sergeant Cooper, congratulations. You're now our alien cultural liaison officer. The Celestian is your responsibility." "Sir?" Cooper blinked in surprise. "I'm a soldier, not a diplomat." "You're whatever I need you to be, Sergeant. Make this work." The colonel stood up. Dismissed. When Cooper left the debriefing room, Lyra immediately moved to his side. Up close, he noticed that the starlight patterns on her skin formed different constellations he didn't recognize. "They're letting me stay?" she asked softly. Cooper nodded. "Yeah, looks like we'll be working together. But I need to understand, why me?" Lyra's glow pulsed gently. "When you found me in that cell, you didn't just break the collar. You saw me as a person, not a valuable object. Among my people, such moments create bonds stronger than any physical chain. But surely there are others who cooled." "There are not," she interrupted firmly. "This is not a choice, James Cooper. It is what I am, what we are now. I will help you understand your allies and enemies among the stars. And you." She paused, her glow dimming slightly. "You will help me remember who I was before the chains." Cooper saw Dr. Chen watching them with fascination, probably already planning dozens of cultural studies. The colonel looked worried, likely thinking about all the regulations this situation violated. But as he looked at Lyra, Cooper realized none of that mattered. "All right," he said. "First thing you need is quarters. There's an empty room next to mine in the officers' section." For the first time since he'd met her, Lyra smiled. The starlight patterns on her skin swirled in what Cooper guessed was happiness. Neither of them knew they had just started something that would challenge both their world's oldest traditions. The scream woke Cooper from a deep sleep. He was out of bed and running to the next room before he even fully realized what was happening. When he burst through Lyra's door, he found her thrashing in her sleep, her bioluminescence flickering wildly. "Lyra." He approached carefully, remembering his training about trauma victims. "Lyra, wake up. You're safe." Her silver eyes snapped open, glowing brightly in the dark room. For a moment, she didn't seem to recognize him. Then her breathing slowed, and the chaotic patterns on her skin gradually settled. "James," she whispered. "I was back there, in the cell." Cooper sat on the edge of her bed, keeping a respectful distance. "Want to talk about it?" Lyra's glow pulsed softly as she sat up. "Among my people, we share emotions through our light. Being kept in darkness, unable to connect, it was like being buried alive." "Is that why you're glowing brighter now?" Cooper asked gently. She nodded. Freedom means being able to shine. She hesitated, then added, but the memories remain. Yeah, I know something about that. Cooper thought back to his own combat experiences. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones in our heads. The next morning, they met in the base's diplomatic wing. Lyra had insisted on starting their cultural exchange work despite her rough night. She stood at a holographic display, showing Cooper maps of various alien territories. The Vraxian Empire, she explained, pointing to a red section. They respect strength above all. But the Mendari Coalition, she moved her hand to a green area. They value artistic expression. Knowing these differences saves lives in diplomatic missions. Cooper watched her movements, noticing how she seemed more confident when teaching. How do you know all this? A shadow passed over her face. The slavers, they sold me to many different masters. I had to learn quickly about each species. Her glow dimmed slightly, but she kept speaking. Now I can use that knowledge to help prevent others from suffering the same fate. Hey, Cooper said softly, you don't have to push yourself. Lyra turned to face him, her starlight patterns forming new configurations. Yes, I do. Every moment I help the Alliance understand other species is a moment I'm not just a victim. I'm making something good from the bad. Their lesson was interrupted by Dr. Chen, who came in carrying several tablets. Sorry to interrupt, but I have something interesting to show you both. She laid out the tablets, each displaying different data about Celestian biology. Lyra, your species' empathic abilities aren't just emotional. You actually pick up on subtle neural patterns from other beings. That's how you learn languages so quickly. Is that why she stays close to me? Cooper asked. Some kind of neural connection. Dr. Chen shook her head. The life-debt bond is different. It's more like, imagine a compass that always points north. For Lyra, you're now her north. It's not control, Lyra added quickly, seeing Cooper's concerned expression. It's trust. Absolute trust. Something we lost the ability to choose centuries ago, when our evolution made it biological. Cooper thought about this. So when you say you have to stay near me, I'm not trapped, James, Lyra said firmly, her glow brightening. I'm home. There's a difference. Dr. Chen watched their interaction with fascination, but Cooper barely noticed. He was too busy realizing that somewhere between the rescue and now, he'd stopped seeing Lyra as an alien he needed to protect. She had become something else, a friend who was healing just as much as she was helping him grow. As Lyra returned to her star charts, Cooper made a silent promise to be worthy of the trust she had placed in him, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. Cooper noticed something was wrong the moment he entered the base's mess hall. Lyra sat alone at their usual table, but her normal soft blue glow had turned a pale, sickly white. Her food remained untouched. What's wrong? He asked, sliding into the seat across from her. Something feels wrong. Lyra's starlight pattern swirled in agitation. The maintenance crew that arrived this morning. Their emotions are dark, hostile. Cooper had learned to trust Lyra's instincts over the past few weeks. Her empathic abilities had already helped avoid several diplomatic incidents. Tell me more. They're hiding something. Their surface thoughts show maintenance work, but underneath, she shuddered. It reminds me of how the slavers felt before a raid. Cooper casually looked around the mess hall. He spotted two of the new maintenance workers near the entrance, supposedly fixing a panel. Their movements seemed rehearsed, almost theatrical. We need to tell the colonel, Cooper said quietly. But first, let's get out of here without drawing attention. They walked calmly toward the exit. As they passed the maintenance workers, Lyra suddenly gripped Cooper's arm. Her glow flickered rapidly. They recognized me, she whispered once they were in the corridor. They know what I'm worth. Cooper led them straight to Colonel Richard's office, where they found him reviewing reports. The colonel looked up, immediately noticing Lyra's distressed state. Sir, Cooper reported, we have reason to believe the base has been infiltrated. While Cooper explained the situation, Dr. Chen rushed in without knocking. "Colonel, we have a problem. The maintenance crew's credentials. They're perfect forgeries. Too perfect." "The slavers," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "They want their property back." The colonel's face hardened. "No one is property here." He pressed a button on his desk. "Security. Initiate silent lockdown." "Dr. Chen, how many infiltrators are we dealing with?" "At least 12 came in with the maintenance crew," she answered. "But their shuttle could have brought more." Suddenly, the base's lights flickered and went out. Emergency red lighting kicked in, making Lyra's white glow even more pronounced. "They're making their move," Cooper said, drawing his sidearm. "Sir, request permission to." An explosion rocked the base. Alarms blared as the security system detected multiple breaches. "Permission granted, Sergeant," the colonel snapped. "Protect our people. All of our people." Cooper turned to Lyra. "Stay with Dr. Chen in the secure lab." "No." Lyra's glow shifted to a determined blue. "I can help. I can sense where they are, what they're planning. You need me. It's too dangerous." "They hurt me for months," Lyra interrupted, her patterns forming sharp, aggressive constellations. "They hurt others like me. I won't hide." Cooper recognized the look in her silver eyes. It was the same one he saw in soldiers who'd found something worth fighting for. "Okay," he said, "but you stay behind me, and you do exactly what I say." The colonel handed Lyra a comm device. "Guide our security teams. Your empathic abilities might give us the edge we need." As they hurried through the dimly lit corridors, Lyra suddenly stopped. Her glow pulsed with alarm. "3 of them ahead," she whispered. "They're heading for the refugee center." Cooper checked his weapon. "Not if we stop them first." Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder, and he felt an unusual clarity wash over him. The starlight patterns on her skin aligned in a way he'd never seen before. "What was that?" he asked. "Among my people, it means I'm ready to fight beside you," she said. "Now let's show these slavers why taking me was their biggest mistake." They moved forward together, soldier and Celestian, ready to face whatever came next. This time, Lyra wasn't a prisoner to be rescued. She was a warrior choosing her own battle. The secure command center buzzed with activity as Cooper and his team prepared for the coming battle. Lyra stood by the tactical display, her glow steady, as she helped identify the infiltrators' positions. "Another group in Section C," she reported, her silver eyes distant as she used her empathic abilities. "They're angry. Frustrated. They didn't expect so much resistance." Cooper studied the base layout. "Good. Let them be frustrated." He turned to his team. "Martinez, how are the defenses?" "All critical systems locked down," Martinez replied. "They're not getting near the refugee center." While the others worked, Dr. Chen pulled Cooper and Lyra aside. Her face was serious. "There's something you both need to know. I've finished analyzing the Celestian life debt bond." Lyra's starlight patterns shifted nervously. "Is something wrong?" "Not wrong," Dr. Chen said carefully, "but it's more significant than we thought. The bond doesn't just create trust. It creates a permanent neural link. It's why you two work so well together in crisis." Cooper looked at Lyra. "Is this true?" Lyra's glow dimmed slightly. "Among my people, we have a saying. Stars choose their own constellations. The life-debt bond. It's meant to be permanent. Once formed, it lasts a lifetime." "Why didn't you tell me?" Cooper asked softly. "Because humans value choice above all else," Lyra replied. "I didn't want you to feel trapped by my biology." Before Cooper could respond, an alert flashed on the tactical display. The slavers were making their move. "We'll finish this conversation later," Cooper said, checking his weapon. But Lyra caught his arm. "No," she said firmly. "You need to understand now. My people only form one bond in our lives. Ever. When I was captured, I thought I'd lost that chance forever." Her glow brightened. "Then you found me. You didn't just save my life, James. You gave me back my future." Cooper felt the weight of her words. Lyra, I'm a soldier. My life is dangerous. I know. She smiled, her patterns forming what he now recognized as determination. Why do you think I've been learning to fight? Where you go, I go. That's not the bond forcing me. That's my choice. Martinez interrupted them. Sarge, they're breaking through in Section E. Cooper looked at Lyra. Are you sure about this? About all of it? Her glow turned a deep, confident blue. More sure than the stars are bright. Then we do this together, Cooper said. He turned to his team. New plan. Lyra's empathic abilities give us an advantage. She'll sense their movements. I'll coordinate our response. Martinez, you and Chen take the west corridor. Rodriguez, east. What about the neural link? Dr. Chen asked quickly. It could help if you understand how it works. It works like this, Lyra said, placing her hand on Cooper's shoulder. Suddenly, he could feel what she felt. The positions of their enemies, the determination of their allies, the trust between them. That's intense, Cooper managed. Lyra's patterns swirled in what he now knew was amusement. Just wait until I teach you how to use it properly. Incoming, Martinez shouted. As they moved to their positions, Cooper realized something had changed. He wasn't just protecting Lyra anymore. They were protecting each other, and somehow that felt right. Ready? He asked. Lyra's glow pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. Ready. And James, when this is over, I have more to teach you about Celestian bonds. Things you might actually like. Despite the situation, Cooper smiled. Whatever came next, they would face it together, not because of any bond, but because they chose to. The battle was about to begin, but for the first time, both human and Celestian were exactly where they wanted to be. Plasma bolts lit up the darkened corridor as Cooper and Lyra moved behind cover. Her glow had dimmed to barely a flicker, making her nearly invisible in the emergency lighting. 6 of them ahead, she whispered. Their leader is there too. Her voice trembled. He's the one who kept me in darkness. Cooper felt her fear through their new neural link, but beneath it was something stronger. Determination. We'll take him together. Martinez, Rodriguez, you ready? In position, Sarge, came Martinez's reply over the comm. Cooper looked at Lyra. Remember the plan? She nodded, her starlight patterns aligning into what he now recognized as her battle configuration. I'll sense their movements. You take the shot. The first slaver rounded the corner, weapon raised. Before he could fire, Cooper had already pulled the trigger. Through their link, Lyra's awareness had become his awareness. He knew where they would be before they appeared. Left side. Lyra called out. Cooper rolled, avoiding plasma fire that scorched the wall behind him. Martinez and Rodriguez opened fire from their hidden positions, catching 2 more slavers in a crossfire. The remaining 3 took cover, including their leader. You're losing, Vorax. Lyra called out, her voice stronger than Cooper had ever heard it. Your merchandise is fighting back. A harsh laugh echoed through the corridor. Little Star Child, the slaver leader's voice was cruel. You think this human cares about you. You're just a trophy to them, like you were to us. Cooper felt Lyra's pain at those words, but also her absolute certainty that they were lies. Through their link, he sent back his own feelings. Trust, respect, partnership. Her glow suddenly blazed bright, blinding the slavers who had adapted to the dark. Now, she shouted. Cooper didn't hesitate. 3 precise shots took down 2 more slavers. Only Vorax remained. Impossible. The slaver leader snarled. The bond. You actually formed a true bond with a human. Humanity taught me something you never could, Vorax, Lyra said, stepping out from cover. Her light pulsed with confidence. They taught me that true strength comes from protecting others, not owning them. Vorax raised his weapon, but Cooper was faster. The slaver's shot went wide as Cooper's blast hit him in the chest. He crumpled to the ground, staring in disbelief at the Celestian he had once imprisoned. Status report, Cooper called out. All sectors clear, Martins reported. Base security has rounded up the rest. We got them all, Sarge. Cooper turned to check on Lyra, but she was already moving toward him. Her glow had returned to its normal blue, but her patterns were different, stronger, more defined. Are you okay? He asked, both aloud and through their link. I am now. She looked at Vorax's unconscious form. You know what's strange? I feared him for so long, but now, she shook her head. Now I pity him. He'll never know what real connection feels like. Cooper holstered his weapon. You were amazing out there. That trick with the light. A warrior's technique, she said, her patterns shifting to something playful. We Celestians aren't just diplomats, you know, though I might have learned a few new moves from my human partner. Medical teams arrived to secure the prisoners while Colonel Richards approached them. Excellent work, both of you. Though I have a feeling my reports just got a lot more complicated. Lyra's glow pulsed with what Cooper now knew was happiness. Sometimes the best things in life don't fit in reports, Colonel. As they walked back to the command center, Cooper realized how natural it felt now, this connection between human and Celestian. Through their link, he sensed Lyra thinking the same thing. They had faced their first real battle together, and they had won. But somehow, Cooper knew this was just the beginning of their story. 3 days after the battle, Cooper found himself once again in Colonel Richards' office. This time, however, there was a holographic projection of 3 Celestian elders floating above the desk. Their natural glow made the office look like a starlit night. The council demands the return of our daughter, the central elder said, his patterns showing what Lyra had taught Cooper to recognize as authority. Her life debt has been repaid through battle. She must return home. Lyra stood beside Cooper, her own glow steady and determined. Honored elders, the bond remains. It was not broken by battle. It was strengthened. A bond with a human. Another elder's patterns flickered with disapproval. It goes against our oldest traditions. Humans are too young a species, too unpredictable. With respect, Cooper spoke up. Lyra has been instrumental in improving relations between our species. Her work here is precisely why she must return. The third elder interrupted. She can serve as a diplomat from her home world, not as a whatever this arrangement is. Colonel Richards watched silently, but Cooper could see the concern on his face. The Alliance couldn't afford to offend the Celestians, but forcing Lyra to leave could damage the trust they'd built with other alien species. Tell me, honored elders, Lyra said suddenly, her glow intensifying. When was the last time a Celestian fought alongside other species? When did we last truly understand the peoples we claim to help? That is not our way, the first elder began, but Lyra continued. Our way is to form bonds, to understand. Through James, I've learned more about humanity than all our previous diplomatic missions combined. And they've learned about us. She gestured to Dr. Chen, who stood quietly in the corner. They see us as equals, not just as glowing beings of wisdom. Cooper felt her emotions through their link. Determination, hope, and something deeper he couldn't quite name. The human cannot protect you forever, the second elder warned. He doesn't need to, Lyra replied. He taught me to protect myself, to fight my own battles. Isn't that worth more than traditional diplomacy? The elders' patterns shifted in what Cooper recognized as confusion. They spoke among themselves in their native language, their lights pulsing in complex patterns. Finally, the central elder spoke again. You understand that if you choose to stay, you choose exile. No Celestian has voluntarily left the collective in 10,000 years. I understand. Lyra's glow never wavered. But perhaps it's time for our people to remember how to connect with others, not just observe them. Through their link, Cooper sent her his support, careful not to influence her decision. This had to be her choice. The elders' forms flickered. Very well, the central figure said. Lyra of the Starborn, you are released from your obligations to the Celestian people. Your choice is witnessed. After the hologram faded, Colonel Richards let out a long breath. "Well, that was interesting. You realize this makes you our first permanent Celestian resident, and our first alien special operations team member," Cooper added, making Lyra's patterns swirl with amusement. "About that," the colonel said, sliding a tablet across his desk. "Given recent events, I'm creating a new unit, Xenocultural Operations Division. We need people who can work with different species, understand their ways, fight if necessary." He looked at both of them. "Interested?" Lyra's glow brightened. "You mean we'd help other species work together, like we do?" "Exactly, though preferably with fewer firefights." Cooper felt Lyra's excitement through their link, but he also felt a touch of uncertainty. "You're sure about staying?" he asked her privately. That's a big thing to give up. Her patterns formed the configuration he now knew meant absolute certainty. "I'm not giving up anything, James. I'm choosing everything." Looking at the tablet with its new assignment, Cooper realized she was right. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. 6 months after the battle, the Xenocultural Operations Division's office buzzed with activity. Screens displayed various alien languages while maps showed diplomatic hotspots across the galaxy. In the center of it all, Cooper and Lyra briefed their new team. "The Vraxians and Mendari are on the brink of war," Cooper explained, pointing to a contested sector. "Our job is to prevent that." Lyra's glow highlighted key areas on the map. Both species have valid claims to the mining zone, but neither understands how the other thinks. Her starlight patterns formed what Cooper now knew was her teaching configuration. "That's where we come in," Martinez said from his new desk. After the battle, he'd been one of the first to join their team. Dr. Chen entered with her latest research. "The neural link technology we developed from studying your bond has been approved. All team members can now share basic emotional awareness during missions." "Just remember," Lyra added, "technology can copy the link, but true understanding comes from here." She touched her chest, her glow pulsing gently. Cooper smiled, remembering how far they'd come. Their success had inspired other alien species to send representatives. The office now had a Vraxian warrior learning diplomacy and a Mendari artist studying tactical operations. "Captain Cooper," a young lieutenant called from the door. "The Admiral wants your final report on the Celestian integration program." Cooper still wasn't used to his new rank, but Lyra's promotion to Chief Xenocultural Advisor had made it necessary. "Tell him it's ready. And it's not just about Celestian integration anymore." Through their link, he felt Lyra's pride in what they'd accomplished. In 6 months, they'd prevented 3 interspecies conflicts, established 2 new cultural exchange programs, and even helped rescue another group of slaves, this time with a full team backing them up. "Remember when you thought I wouldn't leave your bed?" Lyra teased privately through their link, her patterns showing amusement. "Remember when you wouldn't leave my side?" He sent back, making her glow brighten with laughter. Their playful moment was interrupted by an urgent alert. A new diplomatic crisis was brewing on the edge of Alliance space. "Looks like the Arcosians are having trouble with human colonists," Martinez reported. "Cultural misunderstanding gone bad." "Gear up," Cooper ordered. "Lyra, what do we know about Arcosian customs?" As she briefed the team, Cooper watched her with pride. The scared Celestian from that slave cell was gone, replaced by a confident warrior diplomat who had changed how multiple species viewed each other. "One more thing," Lyra said as they prepared to leave. "The Celestian Council sent a message. 3 more of my people have requested permission to join the program." "Really?" Cooper was surprised. After they were so against it. Lyra's patterns formed what he recognized as satisfaction. "Apparently, our success is hard to ignore. They're calling it the New Star Protocol, actively engaging with other species instead of just observing." As they boarded their ship, Cooper felt the familiar warmth of their bond. What had started as a rescue mission had grown into something that was changing the galaxy. "You know," he said as they lifted off, "when I found you in that cell, I never imagined we'd end up here." Lyra's glow softened. When you found me, I never imagined I'd find my purpose. Funny how the stars align, isn't it? Looking at their diverse team, human, Celestian, Vraxian, Mendari, all working together, Cooper realized they'd created something unique. Not just a unit, but a model for the future. Next crisis awaits, Lyra said, her patterns showing excitement for the new mission. Together, Cooper asked, though he already knew the answer. Her glow pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. Always together. As their ship headed toward their next adventure, both human and Celestian knew that while their original story might be ending, their real journey was just beginning.